with us right now, Lee Caraher. Lee, you are the president and CEO at Double Forte, found on the web at double-forte.com. Lee, thank you so much for joining us.
Josh, thank you so much for having me and putting up with my, technical problems.
Oh, no, your audio sounds fantastic now. Well, Lee, give us a quick overview of what Double Forte does.
Double Forte is an independent public relations and social media firm. We're national in scope. We have offices across the country, and we help companies of all sizes, the teeny weeny to the, to the mid-range, $2 to $300 million firms, to break through and get to their audiences. That's what we do. Wherever they are, we connect them to help them achieve their business goals through communication.
Yeah. So where are those audiences?
Depends who they are. Depends where the client is, right? What the topic is, what the industry is. So they're everywhere, right? So they could be just on email. They could be on LinkedIn. They could be out there in the world. Part of our job is to figure out who is going to move the needle for our clients in terms of what the services are, what they're trying to accomplish, and then go find those people, either directly or indirectly through intermediaries, media, analysts, influencers, whoever, and get them connected that way. So I would like to tell you that there is one way to do things, but unfortunately there's not.
Yeah.
Depending on where those people are, and how they like to receive information and how they engage and how they get influenced and how they believe something, that's what we do.
Yeah. So, obviously there's kind of pros and cons in terms of, there's just differences in terms of strategy. If you want an influencer to be talking about you and your product versus if you want traditional media. Right. And can you kind of maybe talk about who would be a good case use for each of those?
Yeah. Well, I think every company or person is a good case study or a good case for traditional media who is talking, has an editor who is not beholden to me as the PR person to tell a story to their audience, and has some sort of third-party process that vets everything. Everybody, right? Everybody is good for that. It is much different today than it used to be. In terms of influencer, usually we don't do things that are just influencer based because it can be skewed, right? So, and we work really hard to choose influencers who have an authentic base, and we're not just taking $10,000 here, $100,000 there, $1 million here just to do stuff. Because what we know is that when you don't work with influencers who are true to their who aren't authentic, actually you could pay a lot of money and get a nice, hit on an Instagram or a TikTok and have it not convert at all. So even though it's shiny object and it's, oh my God, I got this person to do this. If it doesn't convert, it doesn't effing matter. So we focus on what is going to make a difference, not what looks shiny object. And sometimes, for our clients are like, we really want the shiny object. And if we find that out before we become their agency, we help them find another agency, because in the end, you'll be disappointed.
Yeah.
What you want to do is, what is the right medium to get people who are going to be benefit from your product or your service or your message. Yeah. And that's where we focus.
Interesting. So let's say that I'm an agency or I'm a consultant. I do, I provide sales and marketing consulting, for example, which we do. So what might be some ideas in terms of visibility that you think or authority building, audience building that you might immediately come to mind?
I think the immediate thing I'd ask you is, who do you serve? Like, is everybody your ocean, or is there a certain audience? Like, who are you best for? Right. So first we ask you, who are you best for? And once we understand who you're best for, then we narrow in on, okay, how do we reach those people? If there's only 10 people that matter to you, you don't need a podcast. You don't need, there's a lot of things you don't need. You just have to meet those 10 people, right? And we'll figure out how to get to those 10 people. Now, they may be very high up in the organization. They all might be CEOs of huge companies, and we have to figure out who influences those people, those kinds of things. However, on authority building, the most important thing you can do is have a direct conversation with your target market. That's the most important thing you can do, right? So in the end, an email list is the strongest thing you can have because it's you plus that person. Now, if you don't know that person, it may not be that strong an email list, right? But in the end, you want someone's email who will open it for you. Every time you send them something, they're going to open it. That is the strongest relationship you could possibly have with a potential customer. So that is always going to be on the list. The second thing is we'd say, okay, actually, it could be all these companies in these regions or in this industry. All right, well, that's a lot of people to boil the ocean of. How are we going to create authority and believability and credibility for you in that category? So that would be the podcast would probably be one of the first things we recommend in terms of bringing people to you, because of it's such a great content generator, right? So you can generate the podcast, which you could have the most valuable podcast in the world and no one would listen to it if you use the content correctly, right? So it just depends. And then, or maybe it's just a LinkedIn world, right? You're a recruiter. Well, you better be on LinkedIn if you're a recruiter, right? Depending on who you are, right? So it depends on who you are, right? And so in sales and marketing, everyone's trying to, if you specialize in a certain industry, then also we would be doing speaking opportunities. We would ask you to do, we would want you to be involved in stories about sales and marketing in that industry in certain publications. It's probably not a thing for the Wall Street Journal unless the Wall Street Journal is talking about that certain industry and how things are changing in it. So it's really about understanding who you are, who you're trying to work for, and where are those people and what do they care about, right? Those people probably don't care about TikTok. We're not going to spend any time on TikTok for you. We probably won't spend any time on Pinterest for you, but we will probably spend time on LinkedIn for you and Twitter.
Yeah. In terms of influencer marketing, obviously, I think we've seen, just like media, influencer marketing has absolutely evolved over the past 5 years. I mean, 5 years ago, it was the Wild West, and now there's a lot more science to it, thankfully. Yeah. And hopefully there's a lot more, sophistication on the part of clients. Is it possible to get unpaid earned influencer engagement? And if so, like how?
Absolutely. So actually, it's very seldom that we would do only a paid influencer campaign. Very seldom. I would say 99% of our campaigns are blended, paid, unpaid. And we do that because the unpaid influencer is more influential than the paid influencer. So if you're a paid influencer, you have to say so, right? There's a hashtag ad or hashtag sponsor or hashtag, whatever you have to do, right? And over time, we know that those lose influence with the discerning audience. The discerning audience is probably who you're trying to reach, right? So, but the paid influencer can get you in front of lots of other eyeballs, absolutely. But no one does anything based on one set of eyeballs. Right. They don't do, they just see one person do it. Like, I'm going to do that. Well, unless they're their best friend. So I have a friend, Christy, whatever she does, I do. Like, if she does I'm like, oh, that looks good. I'll just copy her on that lemonade, whatever, but I don't, just because Ariana Grande does something, I don't go and do it. Most of us have multiple sources of input before we make an action. So how do we surround a person with multiple sources? Well, one is having that paid influencer, and then people who are adjacent to that paid influencer. So the unpaid influencer has more sway than the paid influencer. There are many people who will not take money on their Instagram pages and they monetize other ways, right? So what we look for is a blend of influencers we pay, and then our contracts are actually, we pay less in many cases than other people do because we don't require certain language. We don't require, we don't make all the requirements like an ad. Like, that's an ad.
Right.
Say, here's what you must say.
Yeah.
Well, when you say, here are the things we're trying to convey.
Influencers get itchy when it gets really strict.
Please do it in your style. You don't have to pay as much. number one,
Yeah.
and it's more authentic and it carries more weight.
Oh gosh, yes. Listen,
Right?
I could just speak from I don't have an enormous audience. We have over 100, about 120 some thousand. And
That's
so,
pretty big.
and I've done a lot of influencer work with Savings Angel, with my other company, with brands. And the best companies to work with are, listen, we just want you to communicate from your heart, your honest experience. Those are great. Those are fun. And yes, those are the kind of partnerships I love. And because here's the thing too, right, is that tone is so important, because you can't fool audiences. And if an influencer is just doing it for the money and they don't like the creative, like there's too much creative control from the part of you're going to get a very,
it looks like a paid, commercial.
Oh gosh, it's so uncomfortable.
Fan. Please use this fan. Hashtag ad. I mean, no. So the unpaid influencer, a lot of people, you're not an influencer. If you're an influencer, you're doing things unpaid all the time, right? Mm-hmm. So it's always an ecosystem over time. We're not looking for that one hit and then we'll see you later. We're looking for that long-term, long tail people who have platforms. And the first thing we ever do before we even talk to people is send them whatever we want them to do, right? Because we work in a lot of products. So physical products, physical food, physical things, right? Mm-hmm. And if they don't actually like it, we don't want them, but we'll talk to you later about something else we'll pay you for, right? Mm-hmm. So first it's for us, it's actually not, we have our own network system, at Double Forte, but it's not like people don't say, oh, bid for our work. Because if you bid for your work, no, that's not the thing. We go out and seek. And by seeking, we are able to have better relationships with these people and then have long-term relationships that then yield different things at different times. And in general, when we have this approach to influencer marketing, we get so much more than what we paid for. We get, we paid for, a post, a reel, a story. We paid for a blog post. We paid for a Pinterest. When we have these kinds of things, I can't remember a campaign that didn't over-index in what we actually got from the person we paid, because it was successful from the beginning, not just a transaction, right? And that's the piece on the earned piece, right? On the earned, you're actually asking people to do things without compensation, right? And they're doing it because it serves their audience and it serves them well. And this is, I think, why public relations people who are, used to negotiating with the media, like you're not paying for that story placement, right? When you're used to negotiating for the media to serve them, because the only way they're going to get it past their editor is it serves them well, and serves the client, and and doesn't, we don't work with jerks, so in general we don't ever have to compromise that, right? Always we don't have to we won't compromise that. When you treat people like reporters who are influencers, you get to give them more stuff that serves their audience the way they want to serve their audience and doesn't ask them to do things that aren't them. So you end up helping them, because it is hard. Being an influencer is actually, people that, oh, it's such a wonderful life. Oh my God, you couldn't pay me enough. Yeah. It's hard, right? It's curated work all day long. It's so hard to do something every single freaking day, all the time, and do it well. You don't become an influencer, maybe you're the Kardashian, but I got to tell you, those Kardashian ladies, they work their butts off. You just don't see it.
Yeah, there's a really good documentary called Fake Famous on HBO Max. I'm sure you saw it. And that, watch that and let me know if you think it's all glitz and glamour.
Why would you want to live this way? I don't know. I can't even imagine wanting to live this way.
Yeah. That said, I really love, my favorite kind of influencers to work with are just the ones that they geek out on their topic. Like they're passionate.
That's what we look for.
Yeah.
Who's
totally.
Geek out on our topic.
Yeah.
Who's going to go deep, right? Who's going to go deep? Who's going to care about what you're asking them to do?
Yes.
Because they're the ones who, they're going to give you real feedback. This is crap.
Yeah, the true editors, they research and they geek out and they just love the topic, whether it's makeup, and they get scientific about their makeup. Absolutely. And and it's, you know, less about the, you know, the airbrushing and the facade, which I think, you know, my impression is that, you know, the fake influencer kind of, you know, people are, I don't know, I could be wrong, but it feels like people are pining for authenticity.
In the pan, right? A lot of people, they rise up by, you don't rise up without being authentic, right? Then you rise up and then someone convinces you to monetize, and they get managers.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of crappy managers out there.
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
Look for every dime, every single dime. Just do this. And all of a sudden you see their influence wane because they've lost the people that brought them where they were, right? I mean, it happens with products too. It happens with product companies. Companies get too big for their britches and they're like, they just, you know, they basically alienate the people who got them to where they were. And then they lost that audience. And now it's all the people who came on the tail end. And those people are more expensive to keep and need you to be different than you were when you got to your top. So, you know, it's a much like the media, right? The unearned media, or I'm sorry, the earned media, you know, do I want to be, if you're in sales and marketing, you want to be in sales and marketing, am I going to ask you to do something in Parade magazine? No, I'm not. I'm not going to do it. Right? Yeah. Even if you pay for it, Parade magazine is not going to give you anything, but Fast Company might give you something cool. Right? So anyway, it's all about focus and making sure that you're not selling your soul just to get the quick win, because the quick win is usually a short win.
All right. Lee Caraher, your website, double-forte.com. So Double Forte. And when folks go there, what should they click on? What should they do? Where do they take the next step in the relationship?
You can click on contact and get to me at Lee L. Caraher at Double Forte, or you can click around and see our work. Our website does a great job of weeding out people who really won't like us. So if you click around and you want to talk to us, we're easy to find. But if you click around and go, oh, I don't really like how they did this, don't call us. We're not for you.
You've worked with some really big companies, which we didn't even get to talk about. But Lee, thank you so much for joining us. What a great conversation.
Thank you so much, Josh. I really appreciate it.